Hello, my name is Phil Ahrens, and today is the first episode of this podcast, known as the Phil Podcast, where we talk, discuss, and put out our thoughts out there for the world to hear. Now, for those of you who are on phones and have YouTube Premium, or if you want to use some of the greatest things I found throughout the time I've been on the internet of downloading this MP3 file, just to let you know that there will be discussions that I'll be talking about serious subjects. Some of them may not be comfortable for anyone, so if you can leave the podcast at any time if these subjects do not feel comfortable at this time. Today is July 12th, 2024. The time right now is 10:07 p.m. and our current president of the United States is Joe Biden. Now, allow me to introduce myself to get you to know who I am as a person. My real name is Philip Wazalowski, but I go by the pen name Phil Ahrens. I am a writer, an anime fan, a born-again Christian believer, and just probably a lot of things that I just want to try to put in discussions in this video. I can be a little harsh at times, but I do my best to be polite with everyone. I have certain opinions that I sometimes don't feel comfortable sharing, and some I do feel comfortable sharing. Here, you are willing to listen to what I have to say, and if you don't like it, you can always leave at any time. It does not really, you are not forced here. I always said this to anyone. For example, weed. If you smoke weed, I don't mind it, just don't force me to do it. I do hope that you do not mind my opinions, and if you do and you feel uncomfortable, this is probably the third time I'm telling you to say that you're allowed to leave at any time. Let's just talk about me as a writer and how I began and what I'm really currently struggling with. I started writing when I was probably in junior high, high school. My fan fictions were terrible. And, well, it wasn't really the greatest thing to actually see that you have basically a fan fiction that is terrible. My writing wasn't the best. And even to this day, it's still not the greatest. Excuse me. If you're asking what I'm drinking a Cherry Coke Pepsi. Anyway, my writing skills are still not the best, but they've gotten a lot better. I've learned structures over time about how to basically separate sentences and dialogue and whatnot. Sorry, I think I have something stuck in my mouth. But over time, I gotten better. Okay. So over time, I gotten better. And the problem I'm having right now is I just cannot focus. For those of you who don't know, I have ADHD. It has been basically a learning disability that I've had for a while, and it's sometimes hard to focus on what's ahead. I'm sure most of the listeners here are probably have ADHD. And it's not the best, but it can really be just something that could really just, hurt from time to time. And to be honest, it's not really all that great sometimes. Anyway, moving on. I just can't really focus on the story. I'm in my room right now looking at characters that I have on my wall and some inspirational notes and whatnot. Heck, I even have this old Archer thing that says, quote, Archer, a being born with the powers of God himself, mostly female. They could be rogue or owned by an archmaster. They are owned They are owned by losing their virginity if their orbs they carry is cracked by their master. Their weapons are normally a bow, an arrow, and a small demon hunter blade. That was an idea I had at one point for a story. I don't know if I'll ever get back to writing that. I also have another one that's basically says zombie monsters for book, and it's basically storm. It says it's German for storm monster, basically. And I have probably a couple of other stuff too as well on here. And also some pictures of a character from my best friend Nirel. If you want to check her out, she's on Instagram. I will do my best, either probably on YouTube, probably better, to link basically her YouTube channel and her Instagram. And basically, her art's amazing. To this day, I still have some of her artwork. She did have Patreon at one point, but she's taking a break from that for right now. So I would say support her on Patreon, but she's taking a break. But maybe next time I'll say to support her on Patreon. Anyway, there's just a lot of ideas in my head that sometimes get probably messed up. I really want to write more for what I really want to do, but it can be a hard choice at times to write. I don't like that feeling. I don't like the feeling that I can't write. It just hurts me to a sense that I can't really just write a good story or just write something. I don't know. It's just a little bit hard for my mind to take sometimes. But you're wondering why. Well, over time, the brain sometimes just shuts down sometimes. I've noticed that throughout my times of being around as a writer, and it just doesn't really, just some of the ideas I have like a notebook that I did, and I did the smart thing by writing down the dates of when they were written. And still, sometimes just those ideas, it's like bursts. It's like a machine gun burst. One day it'll be one idea, the next day it might be another idea, maybe another one will be the idea I was continuing on, and so forth. It can be hard, and I'm not trying to discourage writers here for those who are listening, but I just sometimes just don't feel it at times. I want to type like a random character information bar to make up a new character, but at the same time, I'm feeling like I don't want to do it. Sometimes your brain just needs a break after a long time, and it really does hurt when you can't really think of anything to try to fix that problem up. Especially hurts when you have like these good ideas in your head. But the best way I've noticed is that I write them down. I believe, and I'm clicking on my app right now, I believe it's Notebook, Take Notes Sync. It's actually a pretty good free app, and I highly recommend it. I have some ideas there as well that we can sometimes go through sometimes. I have some ideas from like character for wrestling, name characters, ending ideas, nicknames, mobile suit ideas, just a whole bunch of different ideas. Some that could probably be a good idea in practice. And sometimes I do believe that sometimes those ideas can become something that you can write about and become one of the best things you can. But sometimes it could just be that idea that you think is good, but in the end, it's just, you thought it was good in your head, but in the end, it was just something on paper. Yeah, sometimes it's just like that. And by all means, I'm not trying to say that you should give up on that idea, but you should try to focus more on trying to fix that idea. I don't know. Maybe I should look at my notes again and see if I could try to mix up a story that have some of the characters that I like, some of the things I like within those stories, and just make it into a whole story with different plots, different villains, and everything else. So now we move on to my streaming side of things. I do stream from time to time. I haven't done it in a while. Sometimes I just need to be in a perfect mental state. And here on this podcast, we care about mental struggles. Because a lot of times there are just people out there who just, they need help. I'm not really going to get into full details about certain things that have happened. But we live in a day and age where mental health feels like that we don't watch it very carefully. I think in this day and age with Twitter, and no, I am not calling it X, it's stupid, that we see people fight, argue, and everything. Heck, even false accusations. In fact, there was a false allegation that actually got someone to commit suicide. It was horrible. Excuse me. Now, I don't know this creator because this creator was on TikTok, but I don't think that they should have basically been under that fire of something that was a false accusation that wasn't even true. Might have to talk to one of my friends on the server and ask her if what were the allegations, and I probably will get into more detail in probably a future episode. But we can't do that. We cannot just basically, just because we're mad at them or want to mess their lives up, does not mean that we should do that. It's not right. It will mess people up mentally too. And I'm a person that I try to like everyone, But sometimes there are just people that I just don't really care for. Or I thought I liked, but then realized the truth. In fact, I've had that happen at my work. Let's just call this guy by the name of Joe. Joe I thought was a friend of mine. He bullied me a little bit, but I thought it was just, all fun and games, And then one day, he basically disappeared without saying goodbye or anything. Turns out this guy was just basically a liar and a manipulator and also a thief too. He got fired a couple times for stealing. And I don't know why. To this day, I still do not know why that he did what he did. It just doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense to me that someone that I thought was a friend would do that to me. It's just very, very it's unbearable, in my opinion. I'm starting to get tired because I took some Benadryl before I started recording. So let's try to bring up 2 more subjects before we end the show. It has been a very hot summer, and there are some suggestions that I should give you all to help you stay, hydrated and not letting you have a heat stroke. First advice is this. Before you even go to work outside or anything, if you have a job that requires outside, the night before, put your water bottle or the water that you have in the freezer. That should really help because then by the time you open the freezer and take it out, it will be frozen, and during the day, you will be able to keep on drinking and drinking and drinking that water, and the ice will melt, making it, feel like a refilling water bottle. But eventually the ice will melt. But I'm just saying to just have that. It's easy and simple. Another one is that I know from people I've talked to before is that they say to put a towel on your neck to keep you cool. I also heard to put ice water on your wrist to also help you cool down. I just hope at the end of the day, when you take these advices, that you try your best to stay cool. And when you can, and you're outside and you're allowed to go inside as much as possible to take the AC. Last but not least, I want to just basically talk about my channel and basically just the future of it, and also just what I'm planning on doing. I started playing Elder Rings, and so far I've gotten one video, out there that is basically Steve's story while I've played Elder Ring. I may live stream it on Twitch too. Next, and I'm hoping to do this over the weekend, I'm going to plan on trying to write the script for the first part of the Mobile Suit Gundam Twilight timeline. So I hope that you will be able to basically, once that video is done, to come and see it. Anyway, thank you for whatever time it is when you listen to this, to coming on and listening to the podcast. I hope you have a good day wherever you are, and I will see you in the next one. Until next time, this is Phil Ahrens signing off.